See who has just survived a public execution. Welcome back, you gorgeous catastrophe. The living paradox. Evidence that not all souls shatter the way the guidebook says they should. Do you know what truly happened? Not the outward humiliation they created as a twisted performance. Whispers, mocking, and the circus of judgment. I am talking about what happened underneath it all. The frequency shift, the energy broadcast, the quiet but thunderous signal you transmitted into the cosmos when you refused to lie down. Here's something they don't cover in their business seminars or polished self-help lectures. When you're subjected to public humiliation, when they tarnish your name and strip you naked in front of an audience waiting for you to fall, something old stirs awake. A primitive signal is emitted, an energy so raw that it travels at frequencies that most people would never hear. And, on the outside of regular society, some watchful, invisible forces detect that signal like wolves catching the smell of something unusual. They sensed it when you shattered but refused to shatter. And now those same viewers are paying attention in ways you never expected. You thought it was over, right? You assumed the worst part was the mocking, gossip, and digital lynching. But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the filtering process. The universe is a means of testing. If you had the fortitude to bear what follows next. Because this is the unsaid reality of enduring humiliation in an era of monitoring and social crucifixion. You don't just endure it. You are marked by it. You've been tagged. You become visible to people who understand what the mark represents. Not the crowd, not the clowns. I'm cheering on your collapse. I am talking about something far more purposeful. Real power. The sort that does not publish, yell, or seek affirmation. There are those who move through systems like shadows, silent, attentive, and unshakable. They appreciate strength not in victory laps, but in quiet perseverance. They're not searching for winners. They're after survivors. Those who were publicly decimated but rose with strange calm. Those who transformed shame into rocket fuel rather than a cemetery. And when you did that, when you went through that fire, when they removed your dignity and you still stood strong, something unusual happened. You demonstrated a level of resilience that cannot be taught, faked, or purchased. You disclosed a psychological weapon that causes individuals in certain circles to halt and take notes. You became intriguing, not in a safe or controlled manner, but in a way that sent silent tremors across spaces. You'll never be welcomed into a situation that implies you're capable of something they didn't expect. Let us be quite clear about what humiliation causes to most individuals. It kills them from inside, rather than on the outside. It causes their nervous system to link visibility with danger. It prepares them to shrink, to apologize for existing. They bend themselves to become invisible, simply to avoid sticking out again. It shapes them into submissive citizens who cower in the face of conflict and blindly accept authority. That is the goal of humiliation. It is not arbitrary cruelty. It's constructed control, a psychological weapon used to keep the collective in check by publicly punishing anybody who defies the command. But then there are the outliers, the abnormalities, the ones whose brains don't work as they should. Perhaps it is inherited. Perhaps it's trauma. Perhaps it is something spiritual. Does not matter. When these individuals are humiliated, they do not surrender. Something cold and calculating emerges. Instead, a new kind of intelligence emerges online. One who sees through the illusion. One that investigates patterns. One who knows that those who organized the humiliation just wanted to reveal themselves. Their tactics, goals, and weaknesses. These folks are not destroyed by humiliation. They learn from it. They observe. They do analyses. They take notes. They do not lash out or collapse. They absorb. While everyone thinks they're broken, they stealthily map the whole battlefield. They recall every smile, treachery, and tactical error their opponents made when they believed they had won. You're one of those folks, right? I can tell because you are still present. You are not putting yourself through suffering for validation. You are not attempting to show your value. You're simply breathing, grounding, recalibrating, and feeling that calm, control, terrible quiet. That's what drew their attention. The wolves I described previously are the ones that move silently. They do not tolerate public outbursts or emotional theatrics. They are inspired by individuals who stay still in the face of adversity, who are humiliated but do not flinch, and who maintain their dignity even when all else is lost. That's what they look for. That is what distinguishes the ordinary from the remarkable. So who are these people? These are the ones I keep referring to. Allow me to paint it for you. They are not influencers or inspiring speakers. They aren't the faces on magazine covers or the voices on stage. They are the invisible hands. Executives who never do interviews. Investors whose names you won't discover online. The strategists who communicate only via intermediaries. They are the builders of empires founded on knowledge, leverage, and psychological accuracy, rather than hype or hustle. Their recruiting method does not include resumes or LinkedIn messages, which they watch silently. They observe how individuals break, or if they break at all. Their main metric is simple. How can someone deal with public destruction? When things go well, anybody might seem strong. But what happens once the applause stops? When does the audience become hostile? When the people you trusted start relishing your collapse because it makes them feel less mediocre. That is the actual test. And you passed it. Perhaps you don't feel like you did. Perhaps you're still reeling, trying to absorb the betrayal and experiencing the pain of what was stolen from you. However, survival like yours is not an accident. It is defiant. It is intentional. It is a subtle struggle against the system that attempted to obliterate you. You did not collapse. You adapted. You did not ask for compassion. You've mastered stillness. You did not yell. You exuded resilience. The ones watching from the shadows saw it right away. They recognized it for what? Yes, it was not chance or coincidence, but the obvious indicator of someone who cannot be controlled. They saw something. Most individuals are incapable of faking restraint while under fire. You did not hurry to social media to argue your cause, offer lengthy explanations, or beg pity. You accepted the strike, absorbed the force, and moved silently. There are no dramatic threats, no vengeful language, and no urgent desire for approval. That level of calm is unusual, dangerously uncommon, because when individuals are humiliated, they either break down totally or begin to overcompensate with loud defensiveness. Both are predictable. Both are feeble. Both reflect someone who is readily swayed by shame. But you became silent. Not the silence of loss. The silence of recalibration. People are uneasy with this type of silence. Because it's not passive. It is calculating. It's the stillness of a person digesting every variable, updating their internal map, selecting who remains, who leaves, and who has lost lifelong access. That is not fear. That is an update. That's the quiet of someone who learned they'd been playing chess against amateurs. The stillness draws strong individuals in because it shows you are capable of playing the long game. Now, let's get things straight. The people observing you now are not saviors. They are not kindly mentors eager to salvage your potential. They are pragmatic, opportunistic, predatory, and wear expensive suits. They identify strength in the same way that sharks intuitively and rapidly detect blood in the sea. They don't see the victim. They perceive usefulness. They perceive someone who did not buckle under pressure, who knows that loyalty is about strategy rather than capitulation. Someone who understands when to remain quiet and when to strike. That is what makes this moment so critical. You now have access to choices that did not exist before. Not because you suddenly learned new abilities or qualifications, but because you made it via a screening process that eliminated % of individuals. You exhibited ability under harsh conditions and in their world. This is the only measure that matters. They don't care about credentials, awards, or internet clout. They only care about one thing. Did you give in when the system attempted to break you? Or have you crystallized? Have you fractured? Or did you shape yourself into something sharper? You sharpened. That's why your name is now on their radar. Not in the excellent or terrible category, but rather the fascinating one. See, they don't approach directly. They do not transmit communications that read, "Hey, we noticed you survived public destruction. Do you want to collaborate with us?" Number. They make mazes. They create coincidences. They put individuals in your circle who seem random but are not. They investigate how you negotiate rehabilitation, who you reconnect with, who you disconnect from, and how you restore your foundation. It's all part of a longer monitoring period. If you continue to display what they are looking for, such as coolness under pressure, strategic detachment, emotional management, and dedication to principle above personality, doors will start to open silently. Suddenly, doors that were never meant to open for someone like you appear. But before you confuse it for destiny, consider this. These folks are not your allies. They are not friends, relatives, or heavenly guardians. They always act in their own best interests. They have recognized you as a potential asset, someone who can further their objective. And if you side with them, you will get access to resources, information, and power structures that lie under the surface of regular society. However, each universe has its own set of regulations, and there's a strict. Loyalty is rewarded, while treachery is punished harshly and without compassion. So what do you do now? First, realize that you are being observed not by everyone, not by the shallow masses who have gone on to the next story, but by a chosen few who have seen something worth examining. Every step you take from here determines how you rebuild, who you trust, what you say, and what you remain quiet about. They're looking at whether you desire retribution or mastery, and if you use suffering as an anchor or propulsion. Second, save for the loss of invisibility. You expected humiliation to erase you, but it really branded you. It made you visible to people who are researching resilience as a resource. They aren't analyzing your reputation. They're assessing your structure and interior design. Can you withstand pressure without expressing your emotions? Can you conceal secrets that, if revealed, will wreck people's lives? Can you move silently while mayhem erupts? Finally, you must select who you will become after this. Because make no mistake, your old life is finished. The version of you that required permission and felt that exposure meant death. That version perished in public. What stands here today is something new, something that has piqued the interest of the observers, strategists, and silent power brokers that shape the world behind closed doors. What you do next decides whether you climb or disappear into the system. You've just been asked to play as the person you were before the humiliation ceremony. That version of yourself no longer exists. That self trusted the wrong people, followed rules designed to keep you tiny, and believed in fairness and justice as cosmic assurances rather than human illusions. You cannot return to your childhood. You have seen how the system truly works. You've seen how quickly devotion fades, how brittle morality becomes when questioned, and how readily people sacrifice integrity for fun. You've seen the machine beneath the mask. Now, rebuilding is not about restoration. It is about evolution. You must become someone who recognizes that power is a given. It's been seized. That trust isn't given out like candy. It is acquired by shown dependability, resilience under pressure, and compassion. It's still strength, but it has to be strategic. You only give it to those who have shown they would not use it against you. You must begin functioning with the new basic premise that everyone is collecting information. Everyone has an agenda, and anybody may betray with the appropriate motivation. That is not paranoia. That is pattern recognition. What most people consider paranoid is just reality without the comfort filter. You aren't becoming cold or uncaring. You're growing conscious. You've just stopped confusing performance for authenticity, etiquette for morals, and smiles for security. The instant they insulted you, the mask slipped off, revealing the genuine faces beneath the polite appearances. That was not distortion. That was a revelation. Clarity pierced through the gloom. When there is no need to lie, the world reveals its true nature. Now you have an option. You can pretend you didn't notice it. Convince yourself that it was a rare incident. Rebuild your life with the same foolish optimism, hoping that the next time people would be nicer. Alternatively, you may accept initiation, because that's how it was. An introduction to a different game. This game has concealed rules, unseen players, and real stakes. Trust is a currency. Silence represents strength and composure. Your armor is designed to protect you while under strain. The wolves I mentioned already know this. They are not looking for justice or approval. They aren't hoping for redemption. They're constructing, acquiring, and positioning. They work with accuracy because they know the majority of mankind is asleep, submissive, preoccupied, and oblivious of who is truly writing the screenplay. They're hunting for the ones who awoke, the oddities who were unplugged by pain, treachery, or public execution, those who cannot unsee what has been disclosed. And it is you. Whether you asked for it or not, shame did not kill you. It altered you. It identified you as someone distinct, someone who has the emotional fortitude to resist pressure that might cause others to crumble, someone who can retain knowledge without expressing emotion, someone who can navigate moral murky areas without losing oneself. And that's unusual, valuable, not to the general public or the mob that ridiculed you, but to those who understand how the world truly works, the creators of the visible order. They are continually looking for somebody who can withstand the heat without combusting. You've demonstrated that you can, which means that, ready or not, you're going to discover what happens when the invisible world believes you're worth trying. You'll start noticing stuff. At first, they'll seem insignificant. Small disruptions in the flow of your everyday life. Conversations that seem casual, yet stick in your thoughts for longer than they should. A stranger spoke just what you needed to hear at the right time. A door opens, not symbolically, but physically, to an opportunity that makes no logical sense given your existing situation. People appear out of nowhere, providing support, knowledge, or connections that seem almost too well-timed. These aren't coincidences. These are signals that will not identify themselves as tests, but that is precisely what they are. Each one is a data point, an experiment, or a psychological test aimed to see how you react under minor pressure. The viewers are evaluating your awareness, calm, and ability to negotiate turmoil without explicit assistance. They're looking at whether you can comprehend coded signals in game interactions, whether you can detect the game being played even when no one mentions the term game. You'll note that these times have a weird, electric energy about them, as if something is slightly awry. It's like having a half-conscious dream. That's because the reality around you is transforming. It's bending to fit a new frequency you discovered when you refused to remain broken. You are no longer merely existing in the world. The world is reacting to you. Every choice you make now serves as a signal that communicates your level of awareness, internal stability, and perspective usefulness. Most people will never notice this. They'll spend their lives on autopilot, unaware of the sophisticated architecture that runs underneath the surface veneer of civilization. And if they heard this today, they'd chuckle. They'd call it paranoia, delusion, conspiracy, or whatever helps them sleep. And that's okay. That's ideal, since skepticism preserves the system. The folks I'm describing, those who pull strings from the shadows, rely on the general public's ignorance. They flourish when people believe in surface-level realities, such as the idea that success can be won through hard work. Failure is personal, and systems are fair. These illusions are the smokescreens that keep true power hidden. But for you, the illusion was shattered. You've seen what's beyond the curtain and can't take it back. You've begun to understand that the patterns aren't random. You felt the eyes, not in a paranoid sense, but in a calm, ambiguous, understandable way. You felt the assessment. You've noticed the small shifts in tone when others talk to you. The unexpected respect that was lacking before, or the way some people are now assessing your reactions rather than ridiculing them. That's because something essential changed when you escaped your public demise. You entered a frequency that most people never reach, a communication band designated for the initiated. And once there, you begin to draw the attention of those who work outside apparent hierarchies. You become a live data point in a society based on secrecy and control. The humiliation you faced was more than simply a social show. It was a filtering procedure. It disclosed to the cosmos and those watching how you behave when confronted with agony, public humiliation, and mockery. Those were the instruments for refining. The universe is not sentimental. It is not concerned with justice or comfort. It's not a test of your sentiments. It's a test of your composition. Can you deal with turmoil without dissolving? Can you continue moving ahead without validation, status, or support? Can you suffer psychological breakdown and emerge stronger than before? Everyone watched you shatter, but they didn't realize your demise was alchemical. The pressure that was supposed to convert you into dust transformed you into a diamond. That is why you glowed differently today. Not brighter, but sharper. That's what they saw. That is what made you intriguing. You become a signal flare in a dark system. A point of difference that piqued the interest of those who deal in unique brains and indestructible psyches. You've arrived to a crossroads without a map or a signage. One road goes back to normality, towards restoring what has been destroyed, pretending that this was merely a difficult chapter in an otherwise normal existence. You could go back, keep your head down, follow the rules, remain modest, and tell yourself you've learned your lesson. That road will provide you with comfort, consistency, and maybe even a feeling of serenity. But it will always come with a quiet pain. The nagging question, what if you had gone through the other door, the other route? Even when you reject it, the one appealing to you is filled with doubt. It leads to a universe you don't yet fathom. A network of participants exists beneath civilization's outward face. It's a world in which nothing is as it seems, where every partnership has a cost, and every opportunity conceals a challenge. Power here does not make itself known. It observes, it waits, and it only rewards those who can move without being seen, act without being prompted, think without being taught. If you select that road, you will have to completely let go of your former self. You cannot bring emotion into this world. You can't keep connections formed in weakness or preserve ties with individuals who applauded your failure. You cannot play little while carrying an awareness that disrupts whole systems. Once you've crossed that boundary, innocence is no longer an option. You'll need to master new methods of judgment. Reading silence is plainly a communication, reading energy with the same precision as text. But recognize that taking this road does not make you a villain. It makes you real. Because the fact is that the heroes everyone idolizes are generally puppets, while the true creators of reality work in the shadows. If you join that environment intentionally, not as prey, but as a strategist, you will begin to understand how power is distributed. You'll realize why you were shattered in public, not to destroy you, but to remove every delusion that held you tame. Neither route ensures pleasure. Neither route guarantees peace. One keeps you comfy. The latter makes you formidable. One saves your picture. The other transforms your nature. One creates the appearance of safety. The latter leads to sovereignty. However, you cannot walk both. You can't have one foot in the old world while attempting to traverse the new. You can't cling on to your old identity while still evolving into who you were intended to be. You are being studied. You're being tested. But you're also being asked to a game that few people know exists and even fewer survive. What you do next will decide whether you stay a spectator in someone else's system or become one of the select few who learns how to rebuild it from the inside out. You can't play by traditional rules while attempting to traverse non-traditional power systems. That world does not value conformity. It rewards versatility. It doesn't care about civility, justice, or acceptance. It values accuracy, perception, and the capacity to withstand pressure without announcing discomfort. You cannot blend these realities. One is designed to keep you predictable. The other exists to test your capacity to operate beyond predictability. So, yeah, you must pick. Don't kid yourself. The wolves are watching, waiting, and studying your every action, not because they care about you as a person, but because your choices show the kind of creature you actually are. Are you a survivor or a placeholder? Is this a transient issue or a long-term anomaly? If you return to your former life and forgive people that humiliated you in order to protect your reputation, if you bend yourself to fit the same mold that previously destroyed you, people will lose interest right away. That decision would show you as vulnerable. It would inform them that your survival was accidental, not earned, and that your endurance was transient rather than fundamental. It would demonstrate to them that you still choose acceptance over control and that your instincts still lean to belonging rather than strategy. In their society, it is considered a weakness, the type that is removed silently and forever. You'd be classified as noise, an emotional fluctuation, and not a dependable asset. However, if you choose to see your humiliation as a rebirth rather than a wreck, things will change. They will take notice if you reconstruct yourself based on a deeper, colder grasp of systems rather than outdated values of justice and validation. If you stop pursuing permission and start calculating movements, they'll pay closer attention. If you start harnessing the energy of your descent for propulsion rather than pity, they'll see you're not simply surviving. You are changing, and it is the signal they have been waiting for. Because the wolves, the quiet builders of influence who manage flow over renown, aren't seeking for the loud or the righteous. They're hunting for individuals who have seen through the deception and haven't crumbled from what they've seen. Those who can perform without expecting acclaim, withhold reply, and weaponize quiet. That is what serious implies in their language. Serious about power, not just the performance power of job titles, applause, or online clout. I'm referring about power that moves systems covertly, power that determines policy before it is ever written, power that alters public sentiment without ever being traceable. Power comes from holding knowledge that is not intended to be made public, bending reality while everyone else debates it. Real power comes from forethought, understanding how choices are taken via quiet back channels, encrypted threads, and whisper bargains, rather than in boardrooms or parliaments. It is understanding how to move a domino without touching it. It's understanding who to move and when. The only way to get access to that power is to demonstrate your ability to retain it without flinching, spilling, or losing control. That's what your humiliation proved. It was not a punishment. It was an evaluation. Brutal. Yes. Unfair. Absolutely. However, it was purposeful. It deprived you of everything. Superficial. Status, approbation, fake allies, and delusion. It compelled you to confront the raw stuff of your existence, your unfiltered awareness, under severe pressure. That's why it broke so many others before you. But you somehow managed to remain intact. You processed the humiliation like a black box recorder, recalibrating. You gained more about human psychology in those moments than most individuals would in their lives. You learned how individuals act when they are overcome with fear or jealousy. When put to the test, you discovered what true loyalty is. You realized how fast morality fails when it is inconvenient. That was not pandemonium. It was data, and you digested it. You went through it all without receiving external approval. You survived without requiring a rescue story. That is why you are still standing. And that is why people are watching. Because in a society based on manipulation, those who cannot be broken become precious assets. This is not a motivational speech about transforming sorrow into purpose. That's self-help nonsense for individuals who still think comfort is the aim. This is not about redemption or healing. This is about change. Controlled evolution. A transformation in which a target becomes an operator. Understand something. What happened to you was intentional. It was intended to ruin you. It was successful against everyone else it had ever been used against. But you did not just endure. You adapted. You did not merely rebuild. You upgraded. That makes you an outlier. In a system designed to handle human-like data, the data is predictable, emotive, and obedient. The designers of the apparatus are now examining you not out of remorse, but because you are an unexpected variable. You were not expected to survive the simulation. You were not expected to continue thinking independently after public disassembly. This makes you both interesting and scary. But make no mistake, this attention is not friendly. These individuals are not your friends, mentors, or saviors. They are exemplary pragmatists. They trade on leverage, not loyalty. Their benevolence, if any, is a bargain. They do not perceive morality. They perceive usefulness. You're a potential investment, not a cause. However, behind that fact is an opportunity that few people ever have. If you make yourself helpful, if you show emotional control and strategic insight, they will unlock doors you didn't know existed. You will be welcome to networks where power does not speak. It acts. You'll have access to systems that most people never even consider imagining. But the world has laws, and ignorance is not accepted. Loyalty is rewarded. However, treason is punished with mathematical accuracy. You will not get warnings or second chances. You will either rise or disappear, and nobody will ever know why. This is the trade-off. When you enter into this layer of reality, you lose your innocence. You give up the luxury of presumption. Trust is no longer an emotional impulse, but rather a studied transaction. Vulnerability transitions from connection to cash. You cannot spend it irresponsibly. Every grin generates data. Each chat, a test. Every alliance, a risk-taking negotiation. This is the cost of waking. You have seen the machines now. The masks are gone. You can no longer imagine that compassion equals safety or that the truth always prevails. You are aware that underneath every grin is a calculation, an alliance, and an objective underlying every relationship. A transaction that is waiting to be revealed at the appropriate time. You've crossed the line and can't go back. You have the option of rebuilding your former life. However, it will seem like you're living in a previously decrypted simulation. You will detect every weakness, deceit, and deception, making normality impossible. That is the cost of awareness. The question is not why this occurred to you. The issue is, what are you going to do with the information it provided? Will you return to pretending? Or will you learn the new language of power, which only a few can understand since the wolves are still watching? Not to assist or hurt, but to measure. They want to know whether you are capable of operating in quiet, whether you can travel like fog via noise-absorbing devices. They want to test whether you can establish your empire silently while everyone else disputes over ruins. And when you show you can, not with words or approval, but with results that speak for themselves, that's when you cease being watched. That is when you join them. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the deepening of my faith. Help me believe you even when actual proof was lacking. Let me believe in your eternal presence, knowing that you will never hurt me. I realize that your intentions for me are ones of success rather than harm, in order to provide me with a bright future. Thank you, kind and everlasting Father, for always hearing my voice. I give this prayer to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provisions. I am thankful for your presence in my life and the richness you provide. If this video spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel and share it with others who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your trip and how you're getting ready for your own victorious homecoming. If you would like to help us out, please consider donating via Buy Me a Coffee. This allows us to consistently improve our content in order to provide you with the best possible experience. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No present is too tiny. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity spreads God's message and gives people hope. Do not stop here. Watch our next video for amazing insights into the indicators that indicate you are the chosen one. We've loved sharing this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for sticking with us until the finish. Keep shining brightly and face your fate with confidence. See you next time. The God Connection sends its blessings to all lovely individuals.